Hi everybody, this is Art Chataway87, also known as Ryan Chataway, and today I'm going to be talking to you about a selection of movies that I love that are based off of books. I got a lot to go through, so I'll go ahead and get started. The first one on my list, of course, is my all-time favorite movie, and that's The Godfather, based off the novel by Mario Puzo. It's just such a powerful story about family, crime. Read the book, see the movie. It's great. Check it out. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. And the reason why I love this movie is because Stanley Kubrick took Stephen King's book, which I like, and he took it and made it so much more deeper and so much more, there's so much more mystery. This movie's like a maze. There's so many theories, there's so many just different opinions about this movie. So check it out. The next one is The Maltese Falcon, and it's based on the novel by Dashiell Hammett, and it's a great film noir starring Humphrey Bogart. Check it out. And who could mention best adaptations in the films without even mentioning Lonesome Dove, which was a television series or mini-series, but I consider it more of a movie because it is it has such a great theatrical feel. Great performances by Tommy Lee Jones and Robert Duvall. Stephen King's The Stand. The only way you could buy it now is on this DVD that comes with these two other mini-series by him, but The Stand is a masterpiece. And it's, in my opinion, it's Stephen King's best book that he ever did, and it's a huge novel. So definitely check this out. It's a great movie. Another great movie based off a book is Gone with the Wind. And this movie kind of gets more of a rap for being a romance, and it's not like a romance. It's a romantic story and everything, but it's really way more to it than that. It's a movie of its time, the time that it takes place during the Civil War. It's more of a love story between the Southerners and their way of life, but this is also one of the most acclaimed movies of all time, so you need to see this. Forget what you hear about people saying, oh, that's just a stupid romance. Well, tell them to shut up and watch Gone with the Wind, okay? It's Apocalypse Now, and it's based off the novel Hearts of Darkness, and it is an amazing movie, so check it out. In this next movie, people are probably going to be completely shocked that I love this movie, and that is The Last Temptation of Christ, which is Martin Scorsese's masterpiece, and it came out in 1988, and it was completely panned by the entire religious community. They said it was blasphemous and that it should never have been made. There was death threats against Martin Scorsese, and I'm a born-again Christian, and I love this movie. And I'll tell you why, because the movie is about the life of Christ. It kind of gives more of a human portrayal of him. The Bible does say he was human like us. And what I like about this movie is that it shows that he suffered like we did. And what I mean by that is that we're tempted by everything. And the last 30 minutes of the movie, the last 30 minutes starts out with him being crucified, and as he's on the cross, he is seduced by Satan, who he thinks is just God telling him, get off the cross. You're not supposed to die on the cross. So he doesn't, and he lives his life. He knew he was supposed to die on that cross, and all of a sudden, he's older, and he's like in the midst of praying to God, like, why? And it flashes back to the scene on the cross when he's hanging on the cross, and it turns out that was just a temptation that he had. He was tempted to get off the cross and be human, but he knew he was supposed to be a savior, so he stayed on there, and he was so happily to do it. And that's why it's powerful to me, because in the midst of everything, all the temptations, he still was sinless and died on the cross for everybody who accepts him as their savior. It's a great movie. I think it's heavily misunderstood. It's a part of the Criterion Collection. Shutter Island, which just came out recently, and it has Leonardo DiCaprio in it. It's another Martin Scorsese movie, and it's based off a novel from Dennis Lehane. And this movie, first of all, if you've never seen this, you need to see it. It is great storytelling, and this is a really faithful adaptation, and Martin Scorsese makes a great atmospheric, thrilling movie, and it's very visual too. It has a lot of visual, trademarks of his movies, so check it out. And yet again, we have another Martin Scorsese movie, and that's Gangs in New York. And in fact, it's based off a novel, a non-fiction novel, about the gangs of New York back in the day. And this story is actually based off of one of the chapters in the book, and about Bill the Butcher, who is played by Daniel Day-Lewis. And anybody who wants to see a great movie, or wants to see a great historical movie about New York and during the Civil War, and how people fought for power and corruption, see this movie. It's great. The Coen Brothers movie, No Country for Old Men, which is it won Best Picture recently, and it is based off a novel that Cormac McCarthy wrote, and it is great, and you need to see it. The next one is Marlon Brando in On the Waterfront, and it won Best Picture in 1954, and it's about an ex-boxer who kind of, started getting into gambling, betting on his fights and stuff, and falling, that typical story of, he went down for the money, and he's kind of a nobody now, and he kind of just works on the docks under a corrupt union official that is close to him, and he starts to see some wrongdoing, and he falls in love with one of the girls whose brother, he ratted on. And so he's in this position of, oh man, I need to be faithful to my brother, who's the assistant to the corrupt union official, and I need to be faithful to this girl that I really love. And it's like a psychological fight that he's having in his head, and it is very inspirational and very powerful. This is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I am shocked that I forgot to put it on that video that I did recently. So if you see any movie in the next week, you need to see On the Waterfront. And in my opinion, and I've said this before, and a lot of people that are in the movie say it, this is one of the most, Marlon Brando's performance in this movie is one of the best performances ever in the history of film, and you'll know when you see it. The intensity in his acting, his method acting, you actually feel for this character, and it is just breathtaking. So definitely check it out. Let me take a drink out of once again, my Raiders of the Lost Ark glass. What can I say? I like slurping on my drinks. Next movie is Ben-Hur, which is probably the greatest epic of all time. It won 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and it's kind of, to talk about this movie is kind of like the length of this movie. It's kind of too long to talk about. So if you want to do yourself a favor and see a great action-filled biblical time movie, see Ben-Hur. Who can talk about the subject with, movies based off of books without bringing up To Kill a Mockingbird starring Gregory Peck? Because this is an awesome movie, and it's a feel-good movie. It's pretty intense at times, but it's really good. And Gregory Peck won an Oscar for his performance, and he plays a Southern lawyer who defends a black man during pretty heavy racial times in the South. He was accused of raping a white woman, and so as you can tell just from hearing that, Gregory Peck's character comes under, he is tempted by everything, not tempted, but, threatened by all the white people and everything, but he does what is right, and that is what's inspiring about this. And it's kind of told and seen through the eyes of his children, and that's a unique way of telling the story. So, sometimes the court scenes are taking place, and you only see what the kids see. They're peeking through the windows, and so you need to check this out. I think this character is #1 on AFI's 100 Heroes list, so check it out. And I know Robbie Webster is going to love that I do this, but the next one is Forrest Gump. And if y'all, as y'all know, who watch my videos and watch Robbie's videos, this is his favorite movie. This is also one of my favorite movies. It's based off the book by Winston Groom, and he also made a sequel called, I think, Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. But I don't even need to explain this movie because everybody knows what it is, but I wanted to recommend it. So check out this, and this is also one of Tom Hanks' best performances, so check it out. The next movie, I actually read the book before I saw the movie, and I was in 8th grade when I read the book, and I don't know why I read it. I think I was going through a horror movie phase, and I decided, oh, I didn't know that was based off a book. And so that's William Peter Blady's The Exorcist, and I actually read the book before I saw the movie. And this is a great movie. It's very intense, but it's not scary as people think. This is actually considered one of the best movies of all time. You know, it was nominated for all those Oscars for performances, and I mean, this scene right here alone is very iconic. And if you could handle, you know, like the idea of possession, it's not like these newer ones that are coming out, but if you could handle that idea and overcoming that and the mystery of that, you need to check this out. It's a great movie. The next one is Blade Runner, starring Harrison Ford. It's the science fiction movie by Ridley Scott, but it's by science fiction writer Philip K. Dick, who also did Minority Report, and it's based off the book Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? You know, that's a weird title, but it's a film noir, like detective kind of mystery, but it takes place in the future, and it's a great movie, and it's definitely a love it or hate it movie. Some people think, oh, it was okay, you know, it's not the best, and some people, like me, consider it one of the best science fiction movies ever, and it's very influential. I feel like it's, in some ways, it's just as influential and crazy as 2001: A Space Odyssey, so definitely check that out. A lot of people might not know this was based off a book too, but that's The Shawshank Redemption, and it's actually based off of a Stephen King short story. This next movie is Das Boot, and it's the original uncut version, and it's based off the novel by Lothar Gunther Buchheim, and it's a Wolfgang Petersen movie, and it's basically a 5-hour, about 6-hour journey with these Nazi submariners in World War II, but they're not portrayed like, they're more portrayed as actual human beings, and you feel for them, even though they're Germans. But it's a great movie. Check it out. There's a director's cut that I think is a lot shorter than this, so if you don't feel like sitting through the entire uncut version, get the director's cut, which came out in theaters like 10 years ago. The movie itself is from the 80s, but the director's cut I think is like 3 hours long, whereas this is like 5 or 6 hours long. But this is my favorite version of it, so definitely check this out. I haven't really mentioned it, but Wes Anderson is one of my favorite filmmakers, and a few years ago he came out with the fantastic Mr. Fox, and it's like a stop-motion animation movie, and it is awesome. Hamlet, which is one of my favorite books of all time, and that's William Shakespeare's play. And there's 2 movies that I think there's been a million other different Hamlet movies, one with Mel Gibson and stuff, but there's 2 that I love. And one of them is the Criterion Collection release of Laurence Olivier's Hamlet, which is not all of the dialogue, but pretty much most of the play. And then there's Kenneth Branagh, his full, it's the full play, and it's they both are extremely well done movies, and if you really want to see some good acting, check any of these out. Alright, well, there's many more, but that's all I can fit on this video. Thank you for subscribing. Please share this with your friends, help get me out there even more. anything he can do is great. And I think that's it. Let me check. Arch Chataway 87 out.